Hey y'all, welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing a reading, a surprise reading, because I haven't read this selection before. So you'll have to bear with me for any mispronounced names because it's a fantasy novel and names are ridiculous. But this is a selection from our newest release, Lucy Blue's The Dragon's Wife, a new romantasy that we're releasing here at Falstaff Books. And I just wanted to share a small sample with you. And I thought it would be funny if I read my big giant ass, read a piece of a romance novel on the screen. So then I decided, well, I haven't read the book yet. So I should tell the author to pick something for me and then see if it would be funny if I got to read something completely cold. So this is, you may have to forgive me, I've got a little cough. So this is one of the early chapters of The Dragon's Wife by Lucy Blue, available now from Falstaff Books. And you can click the link down in the description and pick up your copy. Adam hunched over his mug of ale and willed his hands to stop shaking. "Turn around," the tormentor who lived inside of him ordered. "I want to look at her some more." "Stop it," he muttered under his breath. He could speak to the demon in his thoughts, but every time he did, he found it harder to remember they were separate beings, and the closer they became to being one. "The woman is a nun." "Not that one, idiot," Ajax said. "The little morsel beside her. The feisty one." Adam knew exactly who he meant, but he drank deeply from his mug and made his mind go blank. He wouldn't think about the girl's eyes, a rich brown color that looked purple when her temper flared up. "Now, there's a bite worth taking. Even you must have noticed." Adam signaled the innkeeper for another drink. "Have it your way," the demon said with a sigh. "And by the way, will you kindly calm down? Your heart is racing so it's giving me a headache." "You don't have a head," Adam said through gritted teeth. "Sure I do. This one." Adam's own head flopped forward and almost banged into the table before he grabbed control. "You can't pass me like a plague by being touched, you brainless ninny," Ajax said. "How many times must I tell you?" "You lie." A man at the other end of the table had noticed Adam talking to himself and was nudging and whispering the man beside him. "Yes, of course, but not about this," the demon said. "Think about it. If I could get out of you and into someone else, don't you think I would have done it by now?" Adam drained his first mug and started on his second. "Even those Roman priests who kept me imprisoned got to hear a juicy confession every now and then." Both men at the end of the table were staring at him now. He tried to give them a friendly, nothing amiss here smile, but it must not have gone well. They both turned pale and moved away. "But the priests all had better sense than to read that scroll," Ajax droned on, a swarm of wasps buzzing in Adam's skull as the ale took effect. "Father Angelo warned you not to read it. Actually, no, he forbade you to read it, didn't he? But the great Adam of Cadwyn knew better." Adam stood up with such force the bench fell over behind him, and his empty mug skittered and fell over. "Shut up!" The room fell silent as everyone turned to stare. In the sudden silence, they heard screams coming from the yard. "Are you all deaf?" Adam shouted, grateful for the diversion. He drew his sword. "Come on!" He expected nothing more catastrophic than a runaway horse or a starving wolf that had ventured out of the forest. So when he ran out into the yard, he couldn't quite believe his eyes. A swarm of reddish-black creatures with wings were attacking the people in the yard. They had the arms and faces of monkeys, but with long, clawed fingers and horns on their heads, legs and talons like birds of prey, and tails like scorpions. A A flock of falcons gone mad! A man cried out as he swatted them with a pitchfork. Bats! Another argued, throwing rocks. Demons, Ajax crowed inside Adam's head. Bless the little dears. Just look at them all. They were definitely demons, and they hadn't just run mad. They were staging a focused attack. A young woman came running straight toward Adam, screaming. One of the imps had snarled fingers and talons in the poor girl's hair and was trying to lift her off the ground. One of its kin was flying in to assist. Adam sliced through both of them with a single swipe of his sword. The girl fell cringing and sobbing at his feet with little demon limbs gushing over her head while the rest of the bodies disintegrated in an explosion of foul-smelling goo. Other demons were trying to carry off other girls all over the yard. None of them seemed the slightest bit interested in the men who were fighting them off. Adam traded his sword for his bow and managed to shoot half a dozen, including 3 who held a girl upside down in the air by her feet. Adam shot just as her skirts were starting to fall over her head and she dropped safely into a haystack. But for every demon he and the other men killed, half a dozen more seemed to swoop in to take its place. Another female voice cried out from behind him, not in fear, but fury. Turning, he saw the young woman who had challenged him in the common room charging out of the stables. Her skirts were tucked into her girdle, and she wielded a scimitar like she'd been born to it. She shouted again in a language he didn't recognize. With 3 quick flicks of her wrist, she dispatched 3 imps who had caught hold of the innkeeper's daughter. Sweet goddess, I'm in love. Ajax moaned inside him as the little warrior shoved the other girl toward the stable and swiped another imp out of the air. But the imps were swarming her the same as the other girls, some sacrificing themselves to her blade in the front so others could attack her from behind. She was fighting brilliantly, but she was hopelessly outnumbered and the other girls had been picked up entirely. Well, Sir Knight, are you going to let them have her? Layla recognized the imps from illustrations in her father's books, but she didn't have the first clue how to vanquish them. She swung her sword like a dervish, trying to keep up. Across the yard, she could see the rude crusader doing the same with a crossbow. He was an ass, and an excellent shot, but he was having no better luck than she was. The swarm was too big. Claws caught in her hair and her girdle, and her feet left the ground. No! She yelled, trying to reach behind her. Her fist closed on something repulsive, slimy and furry at once, and sharp teeth sank into her hand. She screamed as pain raced up her arm, but she didn't stop struggling, and she didn't let go of her sword. A deep, bellowing roar broke through the chaos, so loud even her own screams were drowned out. The sound came from the crusader. He threw back his head and drew his sword. As she watched, both the man and his weapon seemed to almost double in size. Green fire shot from his eyes, his fingertips, and the end of his sword as he shouted something in what sounded suspiciously like the language of hell itself. The imps screamed in terror. Suddenly, she was falling. She landed on her face in the bloody mud. She scrambled back to her feet as imps dropped all the other girls too, but the crusader wasn't stopping. He roared again, and the imps exploded, raining hellish ichor down on the screaming crowd. Tabitha had fallen on the ground, writhing in agony. Her true demon form was trying to break free of her feline shape, horns and wings sprouting through her sleek black fur. "Stop it!" Layla shouted. She marched toward the crusader, squashing down her fear. "Enough!" He stopped shouting and looked down at her. "Hello, pretty." His smile was much at odds with the green fire in his eyes, a terrifying effect. "You've got imp guts in your hair." He shrank back down to his normal size and the fire disappeared. He blinked at her as if he weren't quite certain where they were. His own lovely but perfectly ordinary eyes rolled back and he fainted at her feet. That is a sample from The Dragon's Wife by Lucy Blue. Book 1 in the Chronicles of Kaedwen series, out now from Falstaff Books. So if you enjoyed this reading, you can like, subscribe, leave a comment, ring the devil's doorbell to get notified. And if you want to pick up a copy of The Dragon's Wife, please go down and click the link in the comments, or check out our Shopify, which is also linked in the description below. So thank you for watching. I'll be back sometime with more something, and probably more Gandalf. So